guys, how's it going? Thank you so much for having me. It's so funny, 3 years ago I was actually interviewing different real estate firms and Susie Hunt Moran said that I had to come here and meet everybody. So in 3 short years, full circle, so it's fun to be here. So as Travis said, I've been asked to talk with you about my 0 to 60 story. So let's take a trip down memory road and go back 3 years ago. It was June of 2014 and I had just joined Windermere, quit my full-time job, and I had one client, my grandmother. I needed to build this pipeline that everybody kept talking about, so I picked my farm, strapped my boots, and hit the pavement. I was off to rural Multnomah Village this summer. I was walking around with a neighborhood flyer, statistics about home sales on one side, and information about different community events on the other side. I ran across this incredibly sweet woman, just a few years older than I was, gardening in her front yard, and we struck up a conversation. Her and her husband were thinking about selling their house. She took my flyer and said she'd call. Oh my God, day 1 into the job, and I'm like absolutely killing it, I thought. And then a few weeks go by, and the phone didn't ring. I thought, oh, I hate this job. All this work, and no call, how rude. And then one day, out of the blue, the phone rang. Her husband wanted to meet at their house with her, so I went to the listing appointment and put together what I thought was a fantastic CMA packet. And literally, in the middle of my presentation, I look up and the husband is red in the face, laughing at me, laughing through my presentation. I was sitting there talking about my philosophy of real estate and my core value of ethics and expertise. And you can't blame him. He has absolutely no interest in what I'm talking about and going on and on about myself. What he really wanted to hear about was how great his home was and how we can maximize his profit. So that's my 0, and here's how I got to 60. From that day forward, I looked at every failure as an opportunity. I didn't go home crying about how horrible that was. It was actually really funny. I learned a lot from that appointment and what people really wanted to hear. And I didn't beat myself up over it because I knew as a new agent I was going to mess up a million more times again, but I made sure I never made that mistake. I diversified my business. I saw the opportunity that walking a neighborhood could have. I hated it, and I never ended up getting any business from it, but it was proactive at that time. But alone, it wasn't enough. I started Instagramming homes for sale that, at that time, not every realtor was doing. It was an unintrusive way that I could stay in front of my sphere and remind them at least once a week that I was in real estate. Oh, is someone doing the slides for me? Thank you. I'll let you take over from here. I worked a lot of open houses. I made a website. I dabbled in REOs. I tried connecting with developers. I invested and paid for leads. I hosted a neighborhood party, I advertised in the local paper, and I brought my business cards with me everywhere I went, even the bar, especially the bar. I surrounded myself with positive people. When you sit next to Susie Hunt Moran, Amy Vernig, and Billy Grippo, you sit up straight, you take note, and you be a sponge. I didn't need to reinvent the wheel. I needed to shut up, listen, and watch what other people did in the office. Just by being part of Windermere, you have this as a freebie. And when you get really good at it, you learn to use the Windermere name as leverage for both your listings and your buyers. I dug really deep into my contacts. I went back through every period of my life that I could have ever developed a relationship with someone. High school, college, sorority, my previous coworkers and clients, neighbors, friends, parents' friends, husbands' friends. And when that current list was maxed, I looked for new ways to add people to that list. Networking groups, volunteer opportunities, lenders. I made sure everyone that knew me knew I was in real estate and that I loved my job, even if I wasn't doing much business. And whether it was a quick call or text saying hello, sending out a MailChimp to that group of people, asking them to like my Facebook page, I hustled my contacts, which has hands down been the #1 revenue driver of my business, and generally with $0 in overhead. Number 5, I became really good at asking for what I wanted. I stopped tiptoeing around open houses, and I started asking buyers for their email addresses so I could send them alternative properties. I stopped reminding people that I was in real estate if they wanted to buy, and I told them that I wanted to help them when they were ready. My husband jokes around that I've become so confident that I've started assuming when we list your house, when I find you your dream home. But I truly believe it's these little shifts that really move the dial. And number 6, when I finally had clients, I invested heavier in them than anything else. I knew that their referrals could be my bread and butter, and again, at a very limited overhead. During our first interaction together, I always prepare my buyers to refer me by saying, it doesn't matter to me which house you end up buying. I just want you to be so happy with this process and with me that when you're all moved in and satisfied, you can't stop raving about how great your real estate agent is. I say this in a joking way, but I am dead serious, and they get the point. I always try to go above and beyond in the transaction and reach out after we've closed the house to know that my job isn't over just because we've closed and I'm the real estate agent for life. What's beautiful about this career is 0 to 60 doesn't have to look the same for everybody. Some realtors take the scenic route, easing into the next year slowly and steadily. Some put the pedal to the metal and hold on for dear life. And these 6 shifts for me were a roadmap that led me to a successful career in a very short amount of time. They weren't hard shifts, but they take humility, focus, and a lot of confidence. And while I certainly never became the queen of the village that summer, you bet there's a fast-moving car coming for it.